Most Legend of Zelda titles have some very special ways of dealing with certain sections in speedruns. However, these ways may vary depending on the category the speedrunner chose, or might actually never really see the light of day. But there's one very neat little trick that is hardly known, but can be very useful. In this video we are going to explain how to defeat TWINMOLD while wearing the DEKU mask during the entire fight. In order to achieve this, we'll set very clear boundaries to ourselves. This means no Giant's Mask, no Goron Mask, and no bow. Obviously, none of these items will actually be used since we can't use any of those while wearing the DEKU mask. So let's consider it a good measure for now. We chose the English version for this as there are no known ways of achieving this on the Japanese version without either relying on version-specific things or doing some weird glitches with honey and darling that we don't want to get into. At first we play the game the normal way as our goal is to obtain the DEKU mask first. After learning the Song of Time and actually obtaining the mask, we get bombs and hover out of bounds in West Clocktown to the owl behind the loading zone towards South Clocktown. We trigger the owl and just leave it at that for now.
Here we then go to the swamp and learn the Song of Soaring. We'll just leave the monkey hanging as we don't need the Sonata of Awakening. We grab the song and soar to Mountain Village by selecting Woodfall on the map in the inventory in order to unlock yet another map spot that we can warp to in the future. After unlocking another spot on the map, it's time to get the Zora mask. And in order to get this mask, we just have to play the Song of Soaring without selecting a spot on the map. Doing so will warp us to Great Bay, as this is the location 0, which means it's the default value which we warp to if we didn't select any spot at all. Here we jump into the water and save Mikau, where we then play the Song of Healing to save him and obtain his mask right after his death. After obtaining that, it's time for some magic. We head back into Clocktown by using the Song of Soaring with a Milk Road point in our inventory and buy a couple of explosives if we need to. Here we once again hover over the loading zone and head towards the Hidden Owl, which is the name of this rather unintentional owl statue. As it is already activated, we now talk to it and save our game. We will now reset our console in order to start our file, which we just saved at the Hidden Owl in West Clocktown. However, as this owl was never meant to be accessible for the player, there is no map ID linked to it. Luckily for us, the game has a fallback mechanism. If the game can't detect which location to place Link, it will bring us into the mayor's residence. Once we're in here, it's time for us to get rid of all of our usable items, as we will otherwise delete our save file due to what seems to be some sort of save corruption or some kind of checksum fail. We're not too sure about this. After doing so, we play the Song of Time in order to get back to day 1. However, it is important that we do not reset the console this time. Once again, the game will bring us into the mayor's residence, as our State of the Owl statue save still isn't cleared and remains in the memory. From here on, it's almost straightforward on what we have to do. We head to Ikana and hover up the stone tower, as we're not allowed to use the Song of Soaring, as our owl state would get removed otherwise. Here, we need to either perform a time stop with a bottle or hover over the other side in order to skip the puzzle that requires us to use the Elegy of Emptiness. Once we're on the other side, it's time to deal with the temple. In here, things are fairly normal when it comes to speedrunning the temple. Skip the first sunblock, get the first small key with Zora mask, head back, hover over the next sunblock, do a recoil flip over the upstreams, and get light arrows after defeating the Garo Master. After we've done this, we soar out, exit the temple, and store the Song of Time by falling down while playing it. As we're still playing the Song of Time, we will void out and have the game ask us if we want to save and head back to the first cycle. And exactly here lies the catch. We trigger the Song of Time text box and hit yes, which will force the game to the 0th day at 5:59 AM. If we manage to switch to the DEKU mask in just the right time, we can use the light arrows as DEKU Link, as we are still considered human Link internally. And thankfully, DEKU Link is so tiny that he can just shoot between the gap between the temple and the blocks in order to hit the switch and turn the temple. After finally turning the temple, it's time to deal with the inverted stone tower.
However, first of all, we need to store the Song of Time once again. After we did that, it's time to enter the temple and do it. Once again, in the same way the speedrunner deals with the temple. This means entering the temple, heading to the left and placing down a bomb. Here we then jump slash onto the little ledge on the left side, where we get the infinite sword glitch and mega flip off of it. We drop a bomb shoe at the right time and turn to the left, where we will now hover below the corridor which leads to the boss door. As you could have guessed, this is where we skip the boss key and just hover into the loading zone itself. Here we trigger the Song of Time text box once again, hit yes, and switch to the DEKU mask in the last moment, which now allows us to use light arrows. Now, you might have wondered before already, how can we shoot arrows without actually having the bow? Well, there's a fairly easy answer for this. DEKU Link's projectiles are meant to be bubbles that depend on magic. And those bubbles don't check the arrow count or whether Link has a quiver. This allows us to use the bow without actually having the bow or even using it, while still having the light arrows instead, which we can shoot at TWINMOLD. It takes about 10 light arrows for each TWINMOLD to go down, as they have 40 HP each, and every light arrow deals 4. While this might not be the most climactic ending to something that takes this long, it is certainly entertaining to see this little fella shoot all those arrows. And after a couple of hits, TWINMOLD goes down, and we manage to pull off yet another fairly entertaining trick. So, thank you for watching everybody, I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to watch more videos, be sure to click the annotations on the screen right now. And also, be sure to subscribe, there's more coming, we promise.